All right, here we are. So it's almost 2019. So it's time for me to make some rulings on things, not just in 2018 itself, but I decided that this year it'd be really fun, and I think it would start us all off on a really good foot if you gave me some of your problems, and we're going to take them in the chat today too. So if you are watching live right now, I'm going to remind you every couple of cases that you can go into the live chat and give me an issue or a problem and comment down there. And Judge Shifty Mike is going to make a ruling on this issue and or problem. At the very end, we'll do a few other little fun things as well. But for the most part today, it's really about clearing the docket of 2018. And 2018 has been a very, very bad year for a lot of people. A very great year for a lot of other folks as well. But I think we can both agree, no matter what the stance was, whether it was bad or positive or something in the middle, that it's time to just let it go. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome my bailiff to come and give me my first case that we're going to, and so you can get a little bit of an idea of what we're going to do today. Here is the first case. So what do I have? Thank you. Thank you. All right, case number 1. The case of why adults feel the need to badmouth one another instead of just going to the person they need to speak to and talking it out. I know it's hard, but so is life. Well, this comes down to the issue of everyone being kind of, not, I wouldn't want to say selfish, but they mostly think of themselves. This is human nature, to think of yourself first, and to vilify someone who has a different opinion than you do, or someone that you disagree with, right? And it's conflict is hard, is what it comes down to. So, if conflict is hard, the easier thing to do is make yourself feel better and kind of put yourself on a little bit of a higher post, right? And say, well, they're just an asshole, or I can't believe that they're a workaholic and they're just working harder than me because they just want to make me look bad, and not really taking time to look in the mirror and say, well, yeah, I could be doing a little better in this respect or that respect, right? So I think that's a very common human problem. It's very childish, though. I think it's really normal when you're young. As you get older, it's very important to set that aside. As you do, set aside the childish things and say, yeah, it's hard. Conflict is difficult. One of the most important things I feel that you can do as an adult, and that separates you from being a child and makes you an adult, is dealing with conflict properly, by actually addressing conflict. It's hard. I fail at this too. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'm up on this docket, and and I'm the one on the other side of this bench, and I'm not always the best with conflict either. I think we can all agree that we have moments where we're not the best. However, the point is that you should be trying to take the time to look at yourself and look at the conflict and why it exists and address it. So why do people do it is the question. Well, I think that's the reason why. What's the resolution, right? So this question is coming from the point where you're saying, why are people doing this? Meaning that there's some sort of a frustration with a person or people that you see doing this behavior. So what I would expect someone to do in that situation, what I'm going to rule on this today with, is that if you observe this, you have to take the higher ground and you have to essentially do that work for them. You can understand why someone's doing it, so that's the reason why. It's hard. Conflict is hard. If you're observing that, it may be the best thing to get in front of it and say, you take the higher ground and say, like, I noticed you can even say, even if it's not fair, it doesn't matter if it's fair. You can say, I notice I've been doing this blank, and I notice there's conflict, and I have some issues that I want to talk about. Do it for them. So that's my ruling on case number 1. Anything else on the docket? What do we got? Bailiff. Case number 2. All right, what do we got? All right, case number 2 is the case of creepy single men over 45 that need to realize that women cashiers are being paid to talk to them and they are not flirting. This is a question. The fact that this is a question in 2018, and that especially, the framing of this question especially disturbs this judge. Single men over 45. I'm not sure what could be done for a person who's over 45 that still thinks that a cashier who is being paid to be there, paid to essentially provide the service, of ringing you out in your groceries. This goes for bartenders. This goes for anybody in service. This goes for goddamn strippers. This goes for anybody. They are being paid to do a service, and that is it. They're not flirting with you. They can't escape you. Why? This one personally bothers me. This judge has a very personal understanding of this because I see it all the time. I see this, and when I'm not at work, when I'm at a different, I'm going to the grocery store or going to a convenience mart, and I see these things happen. Incredibly common. So I'm just gonna before even addressing the details of this question, I'm going to give a message to all men and then all women. Right? So all men, she is not flirting with you. You understand? She's being paid to talk to you. That's that. All right? Now, to all women, you don't have to listen to that. Your boss, if he does not understand that that's unacceptable, if you somehow get in trouble for that, that's not a job you want to have. Now, there's the middle ground in there, right? Where people are being friendly and it's kind of flirtatious, but it's very surface level. That's totally fine, especially if it's consensual on all parts. But I just want to make sure that it's very clear, especially to men, do not do this, right? So, why does it happen? There's entitlement. Oh, my bailiff would like to speak.
Oh, no. Mal says sometimes I wish I could escape them.
Oh, yes. See, that's the problem. So, yeah, so Mal said something, she wishes that she could escape them, right? So that's an issue. See, how would you feel? This is, again, I'm addressing men for a second here. They want to escape you. Do you still think that they're flirting with you? That should scare you straight and thinking, well, I'm kind of a creep here. If you're going that far and above, like, it's one thing to be friendly and see the same person every day. Look, this has happened to me at coffee shops, at places. I've been on both sides of that counter where this has happened. However, I will say that it goes a little further when someone, say, hey, where's that? Hey, is Jen working today? Where's Jen? To other coworkers, they hear about this stuff. That's creepy. Don't do that. Asking them out on dates, especially more than one time. You shouldn't even do it once. You'll do it again, and this is completely unacceptable behavior. So if there's one thing I want to leave behind in 2018 and try and make a big change on this year, it's going to be this. So let's leave that behind us, right? So why do men do this? Entitlement. The idea that, again, a woman's giving me attention, so it must mean that they're interested. This is okay in a lot of contexts and places that are not where the woman is being paid to talk to you. So what I would say, so I'm going to give a little advice to men once more, and then we're going to end this case, but I'm going to tell men that if you are having a genuine interaction with somebody where they're not being paid to be there, if they can walk away at any point and they leave, hell, I hate when men hit on women on the subway, but at least they can leave the car, they can leave. They're not being paid to stay in one spot. That's still better. I still think it's not great, but you know what? I understand it. The second that somebody is locked into place, you can be friendly and you should be friendly, but understand the difference between being friendly and flirtatious. So I'm going to basically make a snap judgment on this one and say that if you are trying to hit on someone who's being paid to be where they are, it is completely unacceptable. That's my ruling. Bill Parksdale, what do you got for me?
We have another case.
Another case. All right. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one. Understanding versus agreeing. Can you understand an idea but not agree? Oh, yeah. Absolutely. That is one of the fundamentals of human connection and understanding, right? Is you can understand a concept and not make the snap judgment to, because you don't agree, suddenly think that it's just crazy or crazy talk. This is a building block of connection. So I don't really have a lot to say on this one, other than the fact that I would recommend that you lean into understanding someone's points without having to agree to them. Letting them finish even if you disagree. That's a big part of human connection. It's a big part of interpersonal relationships. You're going to really limit your experience in the world if you have someone telling you something and because you just don't agree, you just can't understand it. I can understand a lot of things that I disagree with down to my core. I can understand things that make me frustrated or angry even, but I do understand those things. So I think having a separation and being able to hear someone out, it doesn't mean that just because you understand it degrades your personal value or your morality. I think that's a big concern that people have when talking to someone of, say, different political or religious beliefs, right? It's very common for us to say, well, I can't even listen to this. I can't listen to that. They're crazy, they're wrong. You can feel that. You can still understand, however, what their views are. And honestly, you can humanize that person, even though you disagree. So I would really recommend that. That's a big part of having friends, honestly. Otherwise, you're in an echo chamber if you can never actually disagree with somebody. You have to agree to understand them. So that's my ruling. Lasted through these cases. All right. We're clearing the docket today, everybody. Clearing the docket. So once more, before I get to this case, I want to mention, you have anything you want to add to the docket today, something you want to get off your chest even if it's not even something you want me to rule on, go ahead and drop a comment down there, and we'll bring it up, we'll talk about it, we'll leave it in 2018 where it belongs. 2019 will be a lot better. So, case number 4, ultimatums. Do they work? If they don't work, you better turn this channel off. Ultimatums never work. And you know why? Because I think when you are making an ultimatum, you already have your decision made. You're trying to force someone into agreeing with you when they clearly don't. If someone doesn't agree with you, that's completely, again, this is actually related to the previous case, I believe. Understanding and agreeing, right? You can understand that someone doesn't want to do that, but you can't just force them to agree with you. It's a short-term solution. Ultimatums work in the short term. In terms of do they work? Yeah, I mean, in the very, very short term. But in the long term, they're a disaster. Anytime someone has ever given me an actual ultimatum, my solution has been that person is toxic, get a problem, and I may not address it right now, but I know they are not going to be somebody I'm going to keep around me. Ultimatums 100% do not work, even if what you're asking for is very reasonable. You're trying to strong arm somebody into agreeing with you, not just understanding you, but agreeing with you and doing what you want them to do. And you know the only way to do that is to say, to offer a very negative consequence for them not agreeing with you. Ultimatums on the face of them absolutely do not work. This is why we do not, as a country, and most countries do not negotiate with terrorists, right? This is, you look to political theory when lost, and the answer is ultimatums do not work. Thank you. All right. Case number 5, the case of how to be stronger emotionally. I don't know that you have to be stronger emotionally. I'm gonna take some argument and some issue with that question. I think that there's everybody has their own emotions and their feelings. I don't know that there's a way that you should strengthen them to put up walls or to disregard or to change yourself in emotional strength. I mean, I think if you're having actual severe issues with yourself, there's definitely options for that. Self-awareness, you can seek treatment for things like that. If you're saying that someone is calling you out as being emotionally weak, I'm not sure I agree with that. So how to be stronger emotionally? Well, step 1 is my number 1 question. Do you like yourself? And do you love yourself? Do you feel that you're worthy of things? Do you feel that you have personal value? If the answer is yes to those questions, then I'm not sure that you need to be stronger emotionally. I think that's all there is to it. And whether you're sensitive or empathetic or gruff or keep things inside or whatever those cases might be, not sure that you need to change that, to be totally honest. I would say whatever it is that you're doing is just fine. Now, if you feel that you need to be stronger emotionally because you don't like yourself, you question yourself consistently, not because other people are influencing that, but because you question yourself, I would really recommend getting the help of a professional and getting some tools to kind of work that out. Other than that, I'm not sure that you need to be this version of a strong person. Everyone's strength looks different. Empathy is a strength. Being stoic can be a strength. It just depends. It depends on the person. So I would say if you like yourself, That's all you really need to do to be stronger emotionally. The other thing, to be totally honest, if you're a place where you haven't had a lot of life experience, a lot of it is just living life and going through different things. I think, this judge can speak to the fact that until I've gone through a lot of very specific experiences in life, I didn't realize what strength even was yet. There would be people telling me what strength is. It's being hyper masculine or being aggressive or being stoic and not having emotions, or the opposite, being more emotional, or what those things are. That's something you have to determine for yourself. So I guess my ruling on this one's going to have to be, it depends. Do you feel that you like yourself? Do you like the way that you are? In which case, then you're fine. If you feel that out in a vacuum, away from other people, you have issues with yourself that you need to work out, then I would say that's something you could probably talk to either close friends to get recommendations on someone you can see, or there's a lot of great resources out there to help you become stronger emotionally. But I really think I think that that's actually like probably far less common than we're told when looking at other people's experiences and listening to other people in terms of how to go about our lives. So that's my ruling. Last measure. What do you got? Oh, thank you, Bailiff. Thank you. All right. Age and having a midlife crisis in your 20s. Why do we panic? This is a two-part question, I believe, because the second charge is how to overcome societal expectations. So I'm going to take this in two parts. And the first part of the question is being in your 20s and having a midlife crisis. If you're in your 20s, you're not having a midlife crisis. I hate to break it. You're having a quarter life crisis that is not as bad as the midlife crisis. So what you're feeling right now, yeah, it'll be worse when you have your midlife crisis. I've been in a quarter life crisis off and on for the last several years of my life, and I can tell you, it's nothing like what the midlife crisis is. I haven't even lost all my hair yet. I haven't felt like there are things I just can never do, and I'm weaker, and I have to take medication for everything. My back is finally starting to hurt me at 35 years old, and let me tell you, when you're 50, it's going to be a lot worse. So whatever you're going through right now, don't worry, it'll get worse later. So why do you panic? Well, what's happening in your 20s is there's this expectation of having things sorted out. And, this is even, I think it's exemplified in the reason why it happens earlier and earlier. I know the person who asked this question, and this person is, in the younger side of the 20s. And the reality is that the expectations are a lot different than they used to be for someone in their 20s, I believe. I think you see so many people being really successful or showing the successful side of themselves on social media. I think the self-defeatist humor, which has become so prevalent and honestly very amusing in memes and social media, what's happening there is this is making us think a certain way about ourselves and about our achievements and our value, where everybody is able to show all their successes, and we start to look at our own and what's in between those successes. Because honestly, I know the person who asked this question has had a lot of successes in the last couple of years of their life. And I think it's easy to disregard that and think, well, what about the space between that I'm feeling, but I don't see other people representing on social media or in my friend group, or they don't seem to mind or seem to care. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's what happens when you compare your life to other people's lives. I think that's maybe the most troubling thing about the current situation we're in, which is comparing. It's not even. I love social media. I love it. I love what we're doing right now. We're streaming. We're having a great time. I think I'm having a blast. I'm having a great time communicating and showing this fun side of everything. And I think I'm not one who's going to talk poorly of technology or the year 2018 and what's brought us in terms of connection. I feel like I can be in the same room with people and not even be in the same room with people. It's amazing. However, it does make us compare, because we don't just see one person's life. We see hundreds of people's lives and all the positive parts that they put on social media. We tend to notice other people's failings and kind of, well, that's not me, and then move on. And most people really post their positive things, their happy selfies. These are great things that bring our sense of worth up a level. I think they're great. But I do believe that it leads to more prevalent and maybe extreme feelings of crisis in your 20s for not having yourself figured out. Now, look, the reality is, if nobody's looking, would you be happy? And I think, that's an important thing to consider when you have great achievements, but you're also going through examining whether or not there are things that you could have done, or why you're limited by certain things in your life. The quarter life crisis, which is what you're in, which is what everybody in their mid-20s, I'm sure, almost everybody to some extent, except for the very confident, go through, is completely normal and should be an opportunity for you to assess and look at the positive things that you've done so far and try and give more weight and clout to those things, give more value to them, but you don't even have to consider how other people are affected by this, right? How do those successes make you feel, would be my question to you. So why do we panic? Well, you probably realized by the time you have your quarter life crisis, and certainly by your midlife crisis, that you're going to die. It's true. Everyone's going to die. Now, it doesn't matter if you believe in an afterlife or not. There are things that you want to do while you're young and attractive and having fun, and before the weight of your actions really settles in, you realize there's consequences to every choice that you make, be they positive or negative consequences. Those things happen. It's the reality. So that's an easy reason to panic, but you should also look at all the times you could have made way worse choices than you made. Personally, I feel that people make really good choices. If you have a good heart, you make good choices, even if you're not where you thought you were going to be. Even if the expectation that you had or others have for you, this is a big problem with people who have really aggressive parents. Not a problem I've had. Not a problem a lot of people that I'm close to have had. But I know some people have expectations for their children and kind of push them in a certain direction, and that makes them unhappy. So the panic sets in for that reason. So that leads to the second part of the question, and we're going to make my ruling on this: how to overcome society's expectations. That's really what this whole question is about, right? That's why it's case number 6. How to overcome society's expectations would be to understand that they don't matter. You can utilize your crisis in the positive. This is the best part of having a life crisis. You realize you're going to die. That's part of the crisis. Society's expectations, will they matter when you're dead? That's the way I look at it. So what I would say is make sure that you're living the best version of your life. You're doing the best job you can. You don't have a lot of regrets. And my one thing I'm going to say before I rule on this case is if you have regrets or things that you wish you would have done differently, people that you feel bad for push out of your life, or people you wish you would have let into your life, that's an opportunity. Your quarter life crisis is an opportunity to solve those burdens so you can unencumber yourself as you move forward through your life. It's been a tool that I've used in the past to varying success, but you know what? I'm glad that I made those choices. So being young and having your quarter life crisis, it gets harder. It doesn't get easier. It gets easier for a bit, but it's going to come up again, and it's going to be a lot stronger. So I would say utilize this time to build up a really strong foundation for the real big show. This is just the trailer, my friend. When you have your midlife crisis, you're going to be glad that you followed my advice on this ruling. A couple of dark ones there, huh, Bailiff? Dark ones.
Yeah, this one not so much.
Okay. Oh boy. Case number 7. How to have more sex in 2019. Oh, someone got spicy out there. What's going on here? Okay. I know who you are. How to have more sex in 2019. So, I'm going to give a couple of different answers here. And I'm going to give one answer that's very, very specific to people living in Boston, and just tell you that if one of the frustrations that you have is released, if you go to Chinatown, there's actually an entire district that if you're looking for, I just want to have sex, I just need a release, there's an entire district. I believe it's $40 for the full service, and from what I've been told, I can't vouch for the quality of the experience, but if you're just looking to get off, and this is an important thing for my second answer, if you're just looking to get off, that's where you go. That's the easy answer. $40. If you can't pay that $40 and you're desperate to have more sex, I really can't help you. However, if you want to have genuine connective sex in 2019, there's no way around actually having connections with people. Truth be told, you kind of have to do that. I have a third answer, and that's a little more lighthearted, but I'm going to get really serious right now. If you want to have more sex in 2019, you can be a man, woman, anybody. The reality is that you can't really go out and just say like, well, you kind of have to pick one. Are you going to have something like, I'm going to pay, I'm not going to invest any of myself, my emotions, my feelings, my even time to care. I mean, you don't have to love somebody, but you have to care about their overall well-being, right? I mean, even just to be safe and to treat that person as a person because they're not an object. You can also get a fleshlight. That's good. Or a dildo. I recommend dildos and fleshlights. They're great. So you can put the dildo in the fleshlight, and it's like you can like entertain yourself for hours. It's like the best thing ever. But I would say it takes an investment of something. You want to pay the money for the fleshlight? You can use that thing 1,000 times. Put in the dishwasher. It's dishwasher safe. Dildos. They're even more dishwasher safe. You don't have to wash them every time. I mean, you should, but you don't have to. Fleshlights, you really do. From experience, wash those things. But you have to invest something. $40 for a little, rub and tug over down in, Chickadee, Chinatown. You can do that too. Any of those things are totally fine. Oh, my bailiff has a motion. Yes.
Mel says the stream is sponsored by Fleshlight.
I should put that up. I need a banner. Next time. Next time. So you have to invest something though. You want to pay the $60 for a flashlight, $40 for a rub and tug over in Chinatown. I'm sure every city has these places. You can even drive. If you're not desperate, you can drive, or you can invest time and experience and or if you want to get really crazy, a little bit of yourself into another person to the point where you have a connection and they like you enough and they want to connect with you in that way. I kind of support all those options. They're all fine. But what is not good, and I'm going to say not to do, is to manipulate or lie to people or push in ways that are inappropriate and maybe not, certainly not illegal. I mean, that's an obvious, I don't think anybody's going to say that that's a good idea. But there are ways to try and like, I'm just trying to get in. We're not in college, guys. Like, even then, you should look back at those times and be like, oh, I was a jackass. The time that it's like, well, she's kind of like, she's hurting. She just got dumped by her boyfriend. Maybe that's not the best time. So, what I would recommend is invest something for return on gain. It's basic. Once again, this is finance. It's a return on an investment. You can either spend the $60 for a flashlight. I think that's what they cost now. On inflation. My bailiff, I'll have her look up the price of flashlights at one point.
Alexa, find flashlights.
Can't hear you from here. Or dildos or whatever it is that you require. That's great too. I think we kind of like probably downplay the value of paid gratification if it takes the place. If you really can't emotionally commit, even for casual sex, I wouldn't recommend doing it. And that comes from someone like myself who is. I'm not exactly the youngest guy in the world. I'm not exactly the oldest guy in the world. I'll tell you, like, I've had a lot of different experiences, and I would say you kind of have to invest something. My third recommendation is simple. Like, if you don't believe me, you don't believe Judge Shifty, Mike G, Lord Jesus, Gordon G, whatever, however long my name is. I recommend this book. This is a book called Just the Tips. Now, this is a book written by Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky. They wrote the fantastic Sex Criminals, and at the back of every issue of Sex Criminals, there's a sex column, an advice column. So this book is a collection of just the tips. Now, I'm not going to say that a book is responsible for me getting laid 211% more than ever before. But if I were to say that, because they didn't pay me to say it, otherwise it'd be in a fucking book. Wait, I want demonetized fudging book. But okay, yeah, I can't show that. Okay, I can't show that. Yeah, okay, but there's some really good like active tips in here. Like, I mean, okay, so all right, so sex tips. I'm gonna just read you a few tips. There's a lot of different things. There's a ruler to measure your penis that. Guys, the ruler's inaccurate, so it looks like it's bigger. It's great. You can hold it up. It's amazing. Okay. But there's also in little diagrams for different sex moves you can do. Like the Ass McMuffin is on there, and the Well, anyway, you got to buy this book. It's amazing. They're not sponsoring me either. But like, for example, like here's one for the ladies. Okay, ladies looking to blow his mind in bed. Invent a time machine in bed. Dude, you look so much younger. Okay, here's another one, another good one. Eat a lot of protein before sex, like a cold can of beans or a bowl of cornflakes. Oh, so good. Like, this is the kind of stuff you're just not going to find, like, off of your mom's sex advice book. I really recommend it. The How to Give a Hand Job, Do It Yourself. All right, that's nice. All right. Dutch microwave is in there. Some dirty talk. Okay. Yeah. All right. Here's some nice, sexy dirty. I'm just gonna leave you on this. Some dirty talk. All right. This is dirty talk from ladies. Now, so guys, imagine that I'm a beautiful, beautiful lady giving you some sex talk. Okay. Fill all my holes like you're waterizing a house. Huh? Okay. Put that mouth on my tits, you weird baby. So good. Come on my tits, do it. Give me tit babies. Do it, do it, do it. Tit babies. It's fucking hot, man. All right. My ass needs that tongue so bad I swear I'm about to fart. So, yeah. It's called Just the Tips. It's about 69 pages of goodness. Yeah. They also have a section on how to bury porn in the woods. Someone's king. All right. Sex in 2019. All right, there you go. Bailiff, my next case, please.
I'm just gonna take the
Okay. No, don't bury that in the woods now. Thank you, bailiff. What is the purpose of living? Oh, so we're really throwing some softballs at the good old Judge Mike over here today, huh? All right. What is the purpose of living? Oh, that's well, read that entire book. I think you get the purpose of living. You haven't done the double Dutch oven. You don't know what the purpose of living is. The purpose of living is just to be happy. It's a pursuit of happiness, right? You know, it's doing whatever makes you the happiest. It could be a double Dutch oven. It could be a lot of things. That's your thing. Now, obviously, doing as little harm as possible while pursuing your whatever makes you happy is important, because someone brought up a really good point when I was talking about the meaning of life a couple of years ago. And they said, well, what about serial killers? You know, like the ones that like kill like small children? They like that. Like, oh, shit. My entire thought about the purpose of living is just... Well, actually, it wasn't, because I think we all know that that's a little bit of a different case. Like, most people are not serial killers. Most people are not sociopaths. Most people have empathy and do not try to go throughout their life hurting people with intention. So we're going to take that off the table, and I'm just going to add as a little caveat, like, if what makes you happy is hurting people, especially killing, murdering, abusing people, then don't be happy. You shouldn't be happy. You should be as unhappy as possible, being as far away from those things as is humanly possible. However, if your life and what you like is hanging up pictures, I know people that they have simple things that make them happy, like around their house. I like doing simple home repairs. I like doing those things. Like, you probably should spend as much time as possible doing that thing. I think that's important. Now, I do want to add as another caveat on there that human connection and finding a way to share that might be the most important part of it, right? It's not just you living in this bubble of you doing your happy thing and never sharing it with anybody. I think that finding anybody at all to share it with, whether it be an audience online, this is again why people post about their day on social media as they're trying to be happy. I think it's a good thing. This is great. It's given us a way to do a simple thing and be happy through it by sharing it. I think it's fantastic. So being happy is doing, we're living, the purpose of life is doing what makes you happy and sharing it. teaching it to someone else, even if it's a simple thing, encouraging that in someone else, even if that's a small thing. The purpose, or the meaning, the purpose of life, which is a question on the docket today, the purpose of living, which I guess different than the purpose of life. So if I misread that case, Bill, please review this. Okay. What do you think?
42.
Okay. You're not allowed to talk anymore. All right. The purpose of living. Well, the purpose of living is to be alive. No, okay. No, I think it's as simple as that. It's the same question, right? The purpose of living or being alive are the same thing. Purpose of life? Living? Let me check. Hold on. I got a legal binder down here. Hold on. Let me just. Checked it, and it says I'm right. So yeah, so I checked the documents, the legal documents, and yeah, being the purpose, the meaning, the purpose of living, as stated in case number 8 on the docket tonight, is simply put, to do what makes you happy as much as possible without hurting people, and to share it with people when possible. All right, now is a good time before I get to my next case for a short recess in which I will say that to remember, if you have a case that you would like me to solve right now, to go ahead and add it to the docket. My beautiful, fantastic bailiff, who I've hired for this occasion specifically. Again, you got to pay for things if you want them in life, right?
What? What are you paying me?
My fantastic bailiff will add them to the docket list. So if you have something, now is a good time. I'd like to at least get 1 or 2 things live from the chat. Because all these were shot to me. All these cases were shot to me. Yes?
Well, Scarlet Cages says she'd love to hang out with you.
Oh, well, thank you. You should come over to the where are we? Court?
Yeah, we're in court.
We're in court. Order. So come on down to the court and submit a case, and then I'm going to judge you.
Mel also says that your legal binder sounds like a box of nails.
Oh, you would think that, but you'd think that my legal binder was a box of nails that fell on the ground. But then why would I have a hammer? So.
It's a gavel, sir.
Yes, I said gavel. Hammer of Thor. All right. All right, I'm going to intercede with a case of my own really quickly before I move on. Oh, do you have more cases?
Many more.
Oh, many more cases.
Many more cases.
Really quickly, I'm going to make a judgment on something that's been on my mind. Is Thor stupid? Yes. Moving on.
Case number 9. What are you paying me? I don't...
Case number 9. How to hold on to a job. I'm assuming that this case refers to employment because there are a lot of different jobs out there, as I was informed by reading just the tips. I didn't know. You guys know there's something called a hand job? Didn't know. So how to hold on to a job. Do you smoke weed on the job? Do you drink on the job? Do you do work on the job? Those should be a no, and a yes. Yes, correct. A no, and a yes should be the answer. So that's step 1. Step 2 gets a little tricky because if you have to call out a lot, that tends to be bad. Okay, I'm going to give some really authentic judgy advice here as someone who's hired and fired many people in my life using this exact hammer. Gavel.
It's a gavel.
Correct. The judgy hammer gavel of Judge Mike. So I'm going to be really honest. It's not hard to get fired if you don't follow a couple of basic things, right? Step number 1, don't call out sick a whole bunch. I'm not saying these are right or wrong, by the way. I'm just telling you, you will hold on to a job if you do the work that's asked of you, and even if you think it sucks and your boss is an asshole or they're asking too much of you, you just do it. It's true. You don't call out all the time, even if you're sick. Just don't call out. Just show up and they'll be like, go home, you're sick. And you're like, well, I didn't call out, did I? I didn't get those points, did I? I showed up, huh? It sucks, but if you want to hold on to it, it's true. Don't lie. Don't steal. Don't be coarse. These are all authentic tips, but my other one is to have a job in which those things are totally fine. Like if you have a job where it's like they're paying you under the table, like a bailiff, where they don't get paid in traditional ways. Correct. So I would say like that's a good opportunity. You could say like, oh, I'm gonna work at a tattoo parlor, and also I suck my boss's dick, like because we're dating, not like because like not not because he doesn't want it. I mean like, that's like you hire, but it's like under the table. I'm sitting at the table, but like, that's a way. I'm not suggesting it. I'm just giving you options. So that's an option. You could follow my first set of advice, which is basically like follow the employee handbook. If every job that's worth their salt has one, follow everything in there. Even if it sucks, and do that job until you find one that you like better. But you could also work at a tattoo parlor, right? And there's like all these sexy people coming in all the time, and you could be like, oh, look how hot I am. Like I would do this. This would be my job. Like, oh, look how hot I am. Like at a tattoo parlor. You're like, look at my ink. I'd be wearing this exact thing. I'd be like, ooh, what's up with getting pierced today, huh? Sexy. Like that kind of thing. That works.
Is that
and then I'd suck my boss's dick, and then I would never lose the job. So
can I have that job?
yeah, see, exactly. See, everyone wants that job. You get paid minimum wage. Also, okay, I'm going to give you one more course of action. This is a weird one. I don't suggest this for everybody. I really don't suggest this for like most people. But you can find a job you like. If you find a job you like, even if it's something that other people look down at, you could like working at Taco. You don't know. You could be working at Taco Bell, being like, oh, fucking real grande. I love this shit. I love making these fucking tacos, man. Like, I didn't ever realize like my dick can get so hard making tacos. It's amazing. I mean, well, it's not, but I mean metaphorically. Like your metaphorical brain dick is hard. Like you love it. It's great. So that's a possibility, right? You could have a job that you enjoy. It could be like, well, most people don't like this, but I like this. Just a thought. Or, it could be something that is like your dream job, but you work really hard to get it. And you're not going to want to lose it. So you're going to want to follow the employee handbook. You're going to want to do those things. I think that's a pretty ideal ending to this case. But you could also again work at a tattoo parlor or somewhere crazy. A circus would be another place, I guess, where you could probably suck the juggler's dick or whatever. I don't know how this works, but yeah, okay. So those are a couple of quick tips for you. Follow the book, find one you like, suck some dick. I don't know, right? Case closed.
That's Mike.
Oh.
We have an emergency case.
Emergency case.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. All right. Clear the docket. What do we have?
Case.
Clear the docket.
Yes. What are some trends that should remain in 2019? They could be fashion, makeup, anything of such. Yes.
Oh, remain in 2019 or in 2018?
In 2018.
In 2018. Oh,
not
trends.
in 2019.
Oh, trends that belong in 2018. Okay, that should stay there.
Yes.
I in terms of fashion and things, I think people can do whatever they want. I mean, they're going to fade out either way. I have two things that come to mind. The first one is funny because I disagree with it. There's this big idea that low-rise pants are coming back and that's bad. It's a big thing, apparently, and they are coming back into fashion. We've seen the tail end, or the starting point of this. It could fizzle out. Of this happening from September onward. I was reading an article on a fashion blog. Yes, I was. Don't ask questions. And someone was very upset about this. Now, I want to say, my official ruling on low-rise jeans, they're fine. If they're not for everybody. Nothing's for everybody. But let me tell you, back in 2001, when there was this low-rise going on, and when I was listening to Godsmack and Disturbed, and go into concerts with, like, oh my God, the person has a pierced face. They're pretty exciting. So if we're really going to go for that kind of a vibe in 2019, you know what? If that's what's coming back, I'm well versed in these things. So I say, have at thee. The only thing I would say is a trend. Well, actually, there's two trends that I really don't like in 2018 that should stay where they belong. Number one is again this like really negative, self-deprecating humor. That's what are you doing? It's like this every meme, and I love memes. I'm a meme guy. I love memes. To me, like nothing makes me laugh. Like video memes, like like song parody memes and remixes, and even just random memes. I love it. I think it's great. It's a good way to have shorthand culture. But everything seems to be so self-defeatist and negative, and I'm not a fan. I think that's one thing I would say. You can stay in 2018. 2019, I want to start hearing some of this, like, I'm the greatest kind of stuff. Like, overinflate yourself if you have to. Like, so self-flagellation is better than like, hating on yourself. I'm not a fan. I don't get it. I think we have enough of those things in our own head. I don't think that we should be having people having happy reacts and heart reacts on our self-deprecation, like, in deriding ourselves for jokes. It always bothered me with stand-up comedy that was really big in like the early 2000s. The stand-up comedians were all like, but then I hate myself. And it was like, okay, I get it. Like you see one of them, you seen them all. And I kind of feel like that way with like everybody talking about themselves in 2018. It's like, you really, just because you're on the loose, like, look, we all kind of lost a few things in the last few years. Doesn't mean that everything's horrible, and you should think that you, because you had hope for things, are stupid. I think I don't like that. That's not so good. Okay, one more mumble rap. Okay, look, I know I defended mumble rap, and I do. If you're good, I love Post Malone. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's one of the artists of the year for me. But all the copycat mumble rap, I know we're talking. This is a cultural trend right now, and I think just the music in general being droning and depressing. I think I'm talking about mostly. I guess it's the overall idea, right? Depressing tone is something I could probably do without, right? Like Post Malone has this like depression, but like optimism through it, where he's like a happy guy, but he's living in like this kind of shitty 2018 world. I get it, and he's like the best of the best. So you can get away with that. Not everybody can get away with it though. Talking about doing DMT and Oxy, and I don't, it doesn't work for me. So I think if there's one thing I'd say leave behind, like let's bring back. I'd rather fucking Kesha at this point. Like I really would. I'd be like, like at least she was like. I'm happy that I'm partying now, like, passing out in the back of my Uber. By the way, you can auto-tune that. You got yourself a hit. Passing out in my Uber, passing out in my Uber. Okay, so 2019, it's done. It's done. Bailiff, do I have another case?
Many.
Yes. All right.
But first, I have a pickup line for you.
Okay.
Oh boy, are you Adam Levine? Because I wish you were dead.
That is a winner. 5. Thank you, Bailiff.
Welcome. Do I get paid now? Do I get money?
You get monies. You can keep the book.
Thank you.
Case number 10 on the docket today. Why do people rush when they're already late? Well, that's a good case. I don't think that you shouldn't. Honestly, if you're already late, you're running late. The question is, how much are you rushing? Are you rushing in a way that causes disruption to other people? Are you rushing in a way that's like, I'm going to run to the train and I'm out the other side of people and it's fine? That's a good time to rush. You're late, but you don't want to be later, especially because if you're here in Boston like I am, the public transit is not reliable. If you happen to miss that train, it could be 5 hours before another one happens to swing by. So I get that part of it, but I see what you're saying. You're saying, or I don't want to project what you're saying. You might be saying, if you were to be saying, if this criminal complaint is saying one thing, it's different than if it's saying the other. I would require specific, actual clarification on this one case in their terminology. This is why specificity is the soul of narrative, and brevity is the height of wit, my friend. Because If you were to say that this person who's rushing is causing discomfort and frustration or issues on people around them when they're just pushing off the train or driving or honking their horn when they're just stuck in traffic, I would completely agree. That is unnecessary in every possible way. And what they are doing is trying to vent their own personal frustration over their lack of accountability for the fact that they should have just gotten up 5 minutes earlier or not done whatever they did in the morning with their wife and or husband and or girlfriend and or person they woke up next to that made them late. Now, do I think they always should do that thing with their wife and or husband and or girlfriend, boyfriend, person they woke up to? Yes. Wake up a half hour earlier. Wake up 10 minutes earlier, I should say. American average, everybody. That's right. 8 minutes is the average. Anyway, 8 minutes. It's true. 7. Yeah, well, I like to round up. I like even numbers. They're better. So, okay, so the question is, why do they still? Well, because they're anxious. Should you rush if you're already late? Well, that's situational. If it relieves stress in your mind to try and be 5 minutes earlier than you would be when you're already late, but let's say you're an hour late. I mean, if it relieves stress, sure, but if we're talking about you making it on time as being 5 minutes late, I can also understand that. However, if you're causing disruption to people, if you're like pushing people out of the way, I've seen this. It's not uncommon. It's like you're only going to get there a few seconds earlier, or the person who's riding someone's ass, in traffic, and then they both get to the red light anyway, and you all have to wait there no matter what. Yeah, I don't know that there's a good reason for that. The reason why people do that is they're irresponsible. They didn't get to the place they're supposed to go on time. Look, I'm irresponsible a lot. It happens. I'm late. But you know what? It happens. Don't be rude when you do it, though. All right, next case. Bailiff.
Case umbrella.
Case 11. All right. Oh, boy. I'm going to have to move my water over here for this one. I'm going to use one of these bad boys. By the way, before I answer this question, I want to say, once again, if you have any quandaries, any questions, any thoughts you want for me to answer before I end my stream tonight, go ahead and drop those down in the chat thingy down there. And my fantastic bailiff, who is being paid handsomely to be in books, to be doing my bailiffing, will write them down and add them to the docket. So if you have anything on your mind, feel free to drop it. That's good. So, case number 11 on the docket. The nice thing is when I'm doing my judging from home is I can have a pint. It's amazing. Right at the bar. Case number 11. Why do friends care more about the drama around you than about you? Oh, my friend. I'm sure they're friends. We have a very loose definition of friends sometimes, and I would say that when things are made public that are dramatic, people find them interesting. Now, whether they're taking interest in taking your side or someone else's side doesn't really matter. I don't think that someone who has a focus on drama over your well-being is actually a friend at all. That's my view. They can be an acquaintance. They can maybe be a casual friend. They can be someone you know from somebody. I think it fills this desire to be entertained by human drama. Now, drama can go both ways, though. Drama can be something positive or negative. It can be, Jenny's pregnant. Oh my God. What's it going to be? Or it can be, Jenny's pregnant. She doesn't know who the father is. Can you believe it? Now, which one leads to more questions and more like crazy cinematic feel to you? You say like Jenny and Johnny, who got married because their names are very similar and they like the sound of their names together. Jenny and Johnny are having a daughter. Found out she's pregnant. She just announced it. She waited until she knew the gender before she even said anything. Oh, neat. That's awesome. They deserve that. Or Jenny, Johnny, Jimmy, and Jameson don't know who the father is. Oh my God. What? That's crazy. Like, oh man, I have so much to say about that. Like, first they all J's. Like, why does she only fuck dudes with the same name as her?
Is it Jenny and Johnny Rico?
Yes, Jenny and Johnny Rico, exactly.
Yes, Jenny.
Yeah. Yes. Why did John? Yeah, that's a good point actually. Carmen. In San Diego. I know something.
Where is she?
Where is she? Not in San Diego. No, it's the short answer is because it leads to more pointed, incredibly juicy little details, right? But I have something I want to say about that because I was thinking about this fairly recently. I was talking to my bailiff about this not long ago. That is that if you really care about somebody, even as a friend, you don't want to see their existence as a juicy drama. You want to see it as a happy existence for them. You want that to be positive. You can take that time that you're spending to talk about this person being all these juicy little details. You can take that and reinvest it in positive conversation with them and true, genuine friendship and love with that person, right? I think. So if you find that you have a friend, you're like, I just hate follow them because I love seeing how their life's like falling apart. I'm friends with this person on Facebook because we're friend like in high school. She was like the biggest wreck. And it's like her life is falling apart. Are you that person's friend? That person is your entertainment. That's not friendship. I think the best thing you can ask for someone that you love and care about as a friend, even as a friend, I think you should love your friends. If you love your friends, you don't want drama. You don't want these things. So what I would say is that if you really feel like people are doing that, I would reassess where they stand on that ladder. I'm not saying that you should push them out of your life necessarily, but if you're seeing people in your life looking at the drama and finding that more engaging than the positive or your connection and friendship, it's very incredulous to me. I have a huge question of why that person is engaging with you other than for you seeing you as entertainment. And that can be good. I like entertaining my friends. I don't like entertaining my friends due to my own personal problems or struggles I'm having in life or things I'm trying to overcome. That makes my life worse, not better. So I would say if you have a friend that is doing that, or several friends that see the drama overwhelmingly versus the positive, I would reassess exactly what it is that you're telling that person about your life or how you see them in general. I'm not really sure that's a person that has that much value in your day-to-day existence. And I would also like to say that, to cap that off, if you're a person who hate follows people or looks at your friends in a way that sees them as a hot mess that's entertaining to watch, if you're the kind of person who gets mad when people criticize a pop star that you like, but then you go and do those things to your friends because it's entertaining, you really got to rethink whether or not you should be friends with that person because they are just your entertainment. That's not your friend. Thank you, Bella.
We have another emergency case.
Emergency case. All right. I love emergency cases. What do we got? Emergency case from the bailiff.
Emergency
What do we
case.
got? All right. Bring them in. Wheel it in. What do we got?
Are we living in parallel universes? Are we living in a virtual video game from the future?
Oh, virtual video game from the future. This is an old philosophical question, right? The idea of we living in parallel universes, right? Who asked this question, bailiff?
Scarlet K.
Scarlet K.
Yeah.
All right, bailiff. Thank you. So this is an old philosophical question, and I always like to answer this question. Well, first I'll answer the question simply, and then I'll go into the fun part of it. My answer is it doesn't matter. If it's the brain in a jar question. I have a associate that I work with who consistently has philosophical quandaries about the concepts of whether we're just brains in jars or what if there is no one else. What is it, bailiff?
Nothing. I know what this is.
All right. Thank you, bailiff. Whether, once again, order in the court. Thank you. My ears are ringing. Thank you.
That's very loud.
I just like using it. Thank you. All right. So again, as I said, I have an associate who's obsessed with this idea of us being brains in jars and everything being false. My answer to this person is always the same, however, and that is, would it matter? Would your decisions be any different? I like to play decision-based video games. I'm a big fan of these. Wolf Among Us, Walking Dead. Now, I've never played Life is Strange. I know that's one of those. Mm-hmm. I just got through Catherine, which is a puzzle game that also has a huge decision tree. Essentially any of the games of that ilk, right? And I think the best way to play those games is not to play a character and be like, I'm gonna play through it again and be an asshole. I'm gonna play through it and be mean. You should be playing that game, I feel, to get the best experience with your authentic truth. You should be playing that as, if I were the big bad wolf, this is how I'd handle this fucking situation. Or hey, if my girlfriend was hassling me in this situation, I'd be like saying this, and then, oh no, this happens, I'd be doing this. Not trying to get different endings to see what they look like. I think you should be playing these things authentically. So if we are living in a crazy, bizarre, parallel universe, or a splintered universe, I don't see the reason why it would matter. I think our decisions would be the same. It'd be a great simulation to understand. What would humans do if they had a ridiculous world leader? What would they do? Well, this is what we would do. That's the truth. And so we still have to live that authentic truth. Knowing that it's a simulation shouldn't change anything. Knowing that you're a brain in a jar shouldn't change the way that you feel about the things around you or happiness. If I were to find out that I was a brain in a jar and then be put back into this simulation world, I'd still be like, yeah, I'm gonna play some Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater for a while. Like, what's the point, man? Like, it's all a simulation. Like, yeah, but the story's really good. It engages me. It makes me feel things. I like it. Man, it's all simulation. Why would you even have sex anymore? Why would you even eat a delicious meal? Why would you even own a awesome court hammer?
Gavel. It's a gavel.
Thank you, gavel.
It's a gavel.
Court hammer.
I don't get paid
Gavel.
enough for this.
Gavel. So
Or
my solution would be, it doesn't matter. You should still be making the same choices no matter what. It could be a simulation, or it could be a nothing. That's the way you should be living, I hope, because guess what? It'd be an amazing thing if it turns out that aliens just had us all in stasis and it's like the year 59, 58, 37, 22.
what year is it?
I couldn't repeat that if I tried. All right, my ruling is, it doesn't matter. Next case, please.
Another case.
Oh, okay.
Another case.
All right, here we go. Something from the chat, eh? I mean, from the
from
court.
the court.
Yes.
What's the weirdest experience you've had in 2018?
The weirdest experience that I've had in 2018. Oh God. I'm not sure that I'm at liberty to talk about the double Dutch oven. So.
I sure am.
Yeah, sure. Weirdest experience in 2018. Yeah. So, I'm not gonna be really long on this because I don't want to talk about just too much, and it's for obvious reasons. You'll be able to pick up on some of this stuff. One of the weirdest things in 2018 for me has been, number one, working in a comic store. It's a stupid. This is my point before earlier when you say how to hold a job. This is not a high-paying profession, and I only work 2 days a week. But working at this comic store has been one of the greatest things that's happened in the last several years of my life. I love it. I love everything about working in the comic store. Everything about it's great. Even the weird customers, especially because of the location where it's more academic, it's great. I have met more writers, artists, and creators in the comic world in 6 months of working at a comic store, a small comic store, than I've met by going to San Diego Comic-Con, going to Boston Comic-Con. You meet them very briefly, but you don't have the same kind of conversations that you have when they'll just come in to check out and see, hey, you stock my comic? And like, wait a minute. No, you. And then it suddenly all clicks, and then you have a 30-minute conversation about the state of the industry. I think it's more authentic and kind of like personal. Like, and they're open to it because they're going to a comic store. So those are some of the weirdest, but definitely the weirdest. I'm not going to go into too much. But this year, very recently, a comic book was published by somebody that I went on a date with a couple of years ago. And that is so bizarre, especially because it's really, really good. And I would recommend everyone check out this comic. I don't want to go into you can probably figure it out from other sources. I'm not going to go into detail, but yeah. So if you want to know what it is, you can PM me. I'm not going to put it out there right now because I don't want anyone to know the details. There's no reason to give up this person's identity going on a date with a little old nerd like myself. I will say there wasn't chemistry, and that was it. But she was amazing and great, and the comic book is fantastic. So when I saw that on the rack, I'm like, I didn't even know. So pretty crazy. That's my weirdest. I know it's not that weird, but it's something. So my weirdest experience. Hey, you know what? I'm going to ask everyone in the chat. We're going to do this at the end. How about this? What's your weirdest thing that's happened to you, or weirdest experience, or something you want to mention, the bizarre, the weird, the strange? Drop it in the chat down there if you're listening, and I'll read those off after the next case. How about that? Right. Do you have a case, Bailiff?
You do.
All right. Well, all right. Here we go. All right. Oh, here's an interesting one. All right. I'm case number 12 on the docket today. I'm growing out of cosplay, but unsure how to let the hobby go. It seems like a big part of my personality. Yeah, I think this is something a lot of people can identify with a different type of hobby or interest. I think it's a little bit more intensified when it's cosplay. I think, or no, it's not the most intensified, but I definitely see the intense feeling that comes with putting so much work, time, and effort into the craft of making something, and it becomes a part. It does become a part of your your identity, not even just your personality. I would say the identity that people know you as. I've done very few cosplays in 2018, to be totally honest, to be totally frank. I've done very few. They've been fun, but they've been more fun than anything else. And I still get gifts related to cosplays that I've done, and I still am seen as the cosplayer. But I, in a lot of ways, probably prefer to be known as someone who is a commentator on comic book journalism or one thing or another, or even just sometimes a person in the leadership in the field that I work in. I'd rather be seen that way in a lot of cases. So growing out of something is an interesting thing that happens because you never lose it. It's never just completely gone from your personality, right? But cosplay specifically is about being someone else, and these people that really enjoy your cosplays enjoy them so much. Especially, I know the person who asked this question, and this person is incredibly talented at making things from nothing in ways that even I can't even begin to put the work into, and they cranked out in such a rapid rate. So I think there's an expectation from the people that know cosplayers of that quality that is who they are. They are the cosplayer. That only works as long as it's consensual to you, as long as you want that to be a part of your personality. Like, you're allowed to branch away from those things, but you're also allowed to say it's an interest, but it's no longer a focus. That's really important, I think, to say something is a big part of your personality or your identity, but you can grow beyond it as well. It can be a stepping stool to the next phase, the next thing that you're doing. So my only advice on something like this would be fairly straightforward, and that would be that to not let other people dominate and tell you what you should be or what you are or what parts of your personality. Well, you're not making cosplays anymore. You're not a cosplayer. You could be a cosplayer if you haven't done a cosplay in 5 years. That could still be a part if that's what you self-identify as. There could be a lot of reasons you haven't done one, or it could be that you really are growing out of it and want to do something different. That's also totally fine. I think there's a societal expectation of people setting themselves up as one thing and becoming something else. Now, I see a lot of this in video gamers, in people that have switched from being cosplayers to cosplay enhancing, say, other paid services that they render to the adult market. That's a really common thing that I've seen, where it's a kind of a crutch to get to the next place. And there's nothing wrong with that. It can be incorporated, but I think that there's an expectation that, well, it's a part of my personality. I have to hang on to the cosplay part of it. And then you kind of are having one foot in two different worlds, which is totally okay. But understand the baggage that comes with that. I think that's the baggage of putting yourself in a public sphere at all. It's a hard thing. It's not fair. It's not good. However, we do have this expectation that we know somebody for a thing, that will be the thing forever. For a long time when I was, before I moved to Boston, my thing was, he's the guy in that band. And I just couldn't, I wouldn't want to escape it. But it was my identity when I was living in Wisconsin. So it's very similar. You can choose, and again, I haven't made an album in, close to a decade. So you don't have to live within that identity. It will always be a part of you, and a thing that you can, come back to. I would say that growing out of something is one of the healthiest things you can do to evolve your personality over time. I think it's a big part of your personality. Well, it is. Yeah, that is. It is, in a good way. It's a part of your personality. The same way that being in a band was a part of my personality and still is. Doesn't mean I have to sit around and make music all the time. I don't. I very rarely do. But it's a part of your personality, and no one can take that part of that away from you. So that's just a thought. Right. Bailiff. The final case on the docket today. All right. So before I read this final case on the docket, if you have any final cases you want to drop for me, now is your chance. Now is the time to add any final cases before I wrap up with a couple of short things at the very end here tonight. So, case number 13 on the docket. More money, more problems is a lie. Yes. Well, yes, this is more a statement than a question, but yeah, it really is. There's this expectation that, to defend that concept of more money, more problems, I would say one thing, the concept that money means you're instantly happy and you don't have to deal with anything. There are more problems, but they're different problems, and they're problems most people with no money would sure like to have. Like, oh, I have to pay income tax on my $5.6 million a year in my house. Yeah, those are problems, it's true, but they're, let me tell you, there's nothing like being at the bottom. You know, it's, I think we all can kind of agree and kind of say, like, it's funny, we're the space that we're in 2018, and hopefully not in too much longer in 2018. Well, we got a few hours, so we can't be. But we're in this space where we spend a lot of money on, millennials are being raked over the coals for the concept of ruining things that deserve to die. And the reason they deserve to die is they're based on this idea that is just unachievable to happiness, right? So we're not buying houses, we're not we're not going to school, we're not going to college, we're not doing these. Well, there's a good reason for that, and that is that we're not being given this compensation for those things, and so it turns to be a huge disaster where most people that I know, that are especially people even just slightly younger than me, like even myself included at times in the past couple of years, live paycheck to paycheck. Now, wouldn't it be nice to not do that? More money, more problems, I'll take the problem, is what most people will say. I'll take those problems. But also, you're coming from the experience of not having something, and so you'd be a lot smarter with it than someone who was born into a capitalist system that gifted them, hedge funds before they even knew what a hedge fund was, So I think, yeah, it's true. Let's not lie. Let's not beat around the bush here. If you have money, you can survive. It's nice to know that if you have a compound fracture, you can go to the hospital. It's nice to know that. It's nice to know that if you have a rare disease, you can actually pay to have that taken care of. So yes, I would agree. More money, more problems is, in fact, bullshit. Right. So if there are not any further cases for the night, I'm going to get close to wrapping up. And I want to say that 2018 may not have been the perfect year. It certainly, I would put it far from the perfect year. But I would say that there were some really great moments and some really great people. And the people that spent time reaching out to me, I really appreciate. And I hope that I was there for you as much as I possibly could be. And if you need anything from me in 2019, other than just making some snap judgments for you, I'll be here. And hope to be doing more of these live streams and more connected times. And, hey, it's a couple hours until this is all over with. So as far as I'm concerned, we can cheers, right?
Before you go, Matt would like to know what the sexiest pieces of clothing are, in your opinion.
Oh, one final case before I go. This is a good one to end on. Sexiest pieces of clothing. You put straps on things. This is just my now this is going to have to come off as I'm going to set the gavel aside here. This is a personal preference, right? You can't make a ruling on taste. But I would say, like, you put straps on things, like when there's like, I'm going to be frank here. So I'm going to say, like, when it's like all strapped in to like shit, and you're like, I don't even know how to fucking, like, I'm going to get demonetized. Like all these like belts and like things, and like, it's like you're in like a saw trap, and you're like, how do I get to the boobs though? Like, how do I, like, she's all strapped in. The more complicated like things and like belts and like things happening there, and then you have to like dig for the key or whatever. I don't know. Like, not in their stomach, hopefully, not in their bird box. But like, yeah. I like that stuff because it's kind of like, it adds a little complexity. You have to overanalyze everything. So that's always fun. Yes, Bailiff.
Scarlett K asked, 5 friends on Facebook or other social media you would like to meet in real life.
5 friends on social media that I like to meet in real life. Oh my God. There's, it's interesting because there's a lot of those people. Um, if I'm Facebook friends with somebody or already friends with them, or follow them on social media, I would like to meet them. Like most people that I'm social media friends with, I have. There are many that I have not, but there are people that I admire and like, and I think we could all just like sit down and chat and have a fun evening. So I'm not really sure I have a list. I would just say like I don't really treat my social media as a place for like strangers. I think that a lot of people accept a lot of friend requests that they regret. Look, there are people. It's gonna, I'm gonna soapbox. I'm gonna make a ruling on this. Actually, I'm gonna make one little quick final ruling here, unless there's another question. But I'm gonna say that if you are friends with someone on social media that you don't want to spend time with in person, you probably should not be friends with them on social media. I think I have been very sometimes guilty of over removing people in times in which maybe I shouldn't, because I don't want to be around them. And I can say, oh, I'll put them back on my Facebook when we're on better terms. Guess what? You can always re-add somebody if you work things out. I'd rather not be social media friends with somebody because they will always find things to notice about you. We were talking about this earlier with not fake friends, but friends that see your drama as more interesting than you as a person. Why give people that opportunity if you would not hang out with them at that time? At any given time, if I'm social media friends with you, of course I'd like to see you. So it goes for everybody, including creators that I'm very, very hopeful that I see at one point, and some creators that I've met very briefly and don't have a close connection to.
What's the worst fan fiction you've ever read?
Oh my God, the worst fan fiction. It's funny because fan fiction to me is something that's had a little bit of a resurgence in my mind. I've been thinking a lot more about fan fiction because it comes in more forms, I think, than it used to. With especially with the prevalence of things like YouTube and like re-editing. The thing that comes to my mind is the big huge. To me it exploded recently. I love it, but it's fan fiction of rewriting a bad movie or taking. Yeah, we're gonna change one scene in this movie. We're gonna make Justice League work. I'm like, okay. Okay. With one scene rewritten, let's make Justice League work. And then I watch it. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I'm like, and then I had this realization the other day. I'm watching one of these. Like, oh my God, I just watched fan fiction. Oh my God. And most of it is pretty decent if it ends up in recommendations on YouTube, but a lot of it's really bad. So that's what it's been on my mind. The worst fan fiction I've ever read was probably probably either something I wrote, because I used to write a lot of fan fiction, Starship Troopers, Roughneck Chronicles, fan fiction. It's probably because that's probably the most recent thing that I've read that's horrible. At the time, I'm not sure if it was good, but looking back, I just whoa. And then there was actually one. I shouldn't say this. It's really mean. But she's not watching it. That's okay. So on that same place in which I was very prevalent in frequenting and a big part of the community on this website, roughneckchronicles.com. Yo, what's up? It's gone. There was a fanfic writer who wrote a fanfic that was basically just like everything you would expect in a classic insert your friends fanfic. It was about us on the forum of that website injected into the Starship Troopers universe. I remember the first couple of chapters being so fun and exciting, and I'm not saying it was ever something that I didn't like, and I respected and loved this writer so much, but not too long, a couple of years back, I found the binder where I printed it all out religiously, because of course you do that in 2000, year 2000. 19 years ago, you do that, and it was, I had a good laugh, I'll say that. Like, it was, well written, but not well written. And the point is that was the gateway. My praise at that time was the praise into getting the XXX even rated version of some of those fanfics written by that author that utilize characters from that source material. I still have them. They're on floppy disk, which is great. And an X-rated fanfic related to characters that are CGI characters fighting bugs on Pluto is maybe one of the most erotic, sexy things you can. It's bad. It's not good, but yet it's fantastic. So I think at least one person in the chat knows exactly what I'm talking about. Has probably even read the same fan fiction. It was not for everybody. It was only for certain people that this author trusted. And this author also wrote, if Reflections, for that person in the chat who knows, they also wrote an X-rated version of fan fiction at the same time. I'm sure you know this. Yeah, that is probably the worst. Yeah. Anything else, Bailiff?
Yes. If you had to pick a song that sums up your life, what would it be?
Song that sums up. Who's that from?
Scarlet K.
Scarlet K.
Yeah.
Oh. Let's see. A song that sums up my life. My God, that's a good question. I appreciate that. I've not thought about that in a while. I'm gonna say, oh my God, Jesus, one song. I don't even get an album. I'm gonna pick a song. You know, it's probably so. You know, I want it to be something really elaborate and awesome. It's probably some backpack rap song. It's probably like a Ryan Cavaro song. It's probably one of those things. It's like, you know, something kind of like ridiculous and white guy rapping about living in the city, which are cooler. I really do. Or okay, you know what? Actually, how about this? Fat Lip by Sum 41. That's it. I love skating, and I love. Look at me. I'm a skater boy.
What about Don't Go Breaking My Dick?
Yeah. How about any song by My Dick?
Dick
actually.
On your list?
Yeah, My Dick is on your list. My Dick is on, yeah. If you guys don't know what My Dick is, so I just recommend. It's a free album out there. It's sort of a deconstruction of music by replacing as many aspects of a song with the words "My Dick" as possible. But the musicians actually play these classic songs. Most of them are classic rock or '90s songs, and they do all the instrumentals themselves and rewrite these songs. Anything from Alanis Morissette, "Isn't My Dick Ironic," to "My Dick Is on Your List." Yeah. So anyway, a couple of things that I recommend. So yeah, how about that whole album? It's free. You can find it on SoundCloud. I had nothing to do with it. I just like talking about it. I love talking about My Dick. You know. The band, that is. I don't like talking about My Dick. I like talking about My Dick, the band. They're great. They're making a new album soon, so I'm pretty pumped about that. That would sum up last year. I think this year, you know, honestly, if I were to, I'm gonna expand and then end on this. I'm gonna say, like, if I were to say what song from 2018 sums up my life, I'd probably be that asshole who's like, it's probably like a Post Malone song or something. You know, I wish it were something different. Like even Ryan Cavaro had a new album this year, and he's one of my favorite artists. And it's not even him. It's probably something a little bit more, honestly, like 2018 vibe, which is a little depressing. But there's hope in that. And that's what I like about artists like Post Malone. Is hope through this kind of darker time that we're living in. So, all right, Bailiff. Anything else for me before we wrap this down?
That is it. Jenny actually just says that your roughneck stuff is gold and little time capsules of our life there.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That was a time. It definitely was technically a time, and that's important to remember. So, worst at the end of the day, even if something is bad, it certainly existed and certainly was real. So that's always a nice thing. So once again, I want to wish everyone a really, really happy new year. 2019 will be a great year. Honestly, it can't be as droning as 2018 was. Not the worst year in the world, but I just feel like not a lot happened. Not a lot. We had some good movies, and I'm going to end on I'm going to give a couple of really quick recommendations for things, and then we're going to close it off for the night, unless there's anything else while I'm speaking here for the bailiff to give me in terms of judging things with my hammer. So I think I've got this question a lot recently because I'm a comic book guy. What was my favorite comic book movie of the year? And everyone expects Infinity War. It's a fantastic movie. Liked it a lot. However, it is not there's been, I believe, 9 comic book movies this year, if I'm not mistaken, 8 or 9. I've seen all except for Venom at this point, which is sad that I haven't seen all. I've seen some of Venom, but I have not gotten through it. It seems fine. But Into the Spider-Verse is a perfect Spider-Man movie, and there's a tone in there. I guess that's one thing I wanted to mention in terms of our recommendations is there's something very special about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and that is the concept that anybody could be a hero. Anybody could be Spider-Man. Anybody can pick up this mantle. It's told throughout the story by the fact there are multiple Spider people in Spider universes, but there's something special that makes Spider-Man who he is, and it's not that he's Peter Parker. It's the fact that there's consequences for actions, and this person is willing to accept consequences and step up and take, in the film they utilize the term leap of faith. They never do the great power, great responsibility line, which I think it just works fine. You don't need it because it's a different characterization and it tells you what is special about. In dark times, taking accountability and responsibility for things even if it isn't your job, even if there's no reason to. That's what makes a hero. So if there's one thing I would like to have you take into 2019 with you, it's that concept. I actually think that it's really timely that this film that I love so much came out so close to 2019 to remind me exactly what it is that I want to carry into 2019, which is remembering it's not my responsibility. The problems in the world are not my responsibility. They're not. But it's the choice that I want to work towards fixing these things and working on being a good person in spite of all of it, even though I have no reason to after everything that's sort of happened in the past several years. And you can sit around and say, well, it's not my problem. But that's not what Spider-Man does. That's not Miles Morales. It's not Peter Parker. That's not even Spider-Man fucking Noir. They all decide to step up and, work on the problem together. So that's what I'd like to say to take into 2019 with you as well. So thanks for watching. And I'm sure we'll have a lot more adventures in 2019. Welcome to the Spider-Verse. Thank you, Bella.
Money.
Get paid in food.